Atomic gigantification was a sweeping Japan nation when along came a dude with an ultra attitude, a Kamen rider who's the greatest kicker of Japan. And of all, man, life's too short now, baby, to not talk big now, baby.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to a brand new episode of Kaiju Conversation Live. I'm your host, Elijah, and today joining me is a lovely, awesome friend of the podcast, Mr. Travis Alexander.
Heyo!
So we are back for the June edition of Kaiju Conversation Live, episode 4, Cooking Up with Travis Alexander.
Cooking.
So, yeah. So, anybody who doesn't know how these streams work, they're very relaxed. We don't have a script. We just kind of do whatever we want to chat about, whatever floats our boat. If there's any news we want to talk about, if there's a movie we watched we want to talk about, if we want to talk about life or our projects that we're working on, whatever works. So before we get going on and onto this journey of whatever the conversation leads us, Travis, why don't you introduce yourself so everybody knows who you are?
I am Travis Alexander, the content manager and co-founder of Kaiju Ramen Media. We are a fan-based, we produce a magazine, we have a website, all this kind of stuff. We produce a lot of fan-based content all around giant monster media of all shapes and sizes, and really tokusatsu in general, because we also have things that involve Kamen Rider and Power Rangers and all those things too. So our flagship is the Kaiju Ramen magazine. A lot of people might have heard of it, and it's a quarterly magazine that is all giant monster based, but is really about celebrating the fans of those giant monster movies and all the creative things that they do and the ways that they celebrate those movies.
Sweet. Alrighty. So, Travis, how have you been?
Pretty good. Good.
So the most difficult and the best part about this live stream that we have here is we don't really have a topic, but then we have to come up with stuff to talk about too, which words are hard, so sometimes that always can be a challenge. So, have you seen any new movies lately? Is there any tokusatsu news that you've been really excited about lately?
So in the world of giant monsters and tokusatsu, the announcement that we had yesterday about the 24/7 Godzilla channel coming to Pluto and all those things is really exciting. And I even tweeted about it on the Kaiju Ramen Twitter, saying that, yeah, I'm going to probably disappear into my room for like 2 years straight, just playing Godzilla, because it's not just Godzilla movies, and that's what's exciting about it, because it's the Godzilla movies. Of course, you know, the whole Showa era is Criterion, and you can, if you don't have the Criterion collection, you want to watch streaming, you can watch it on HBO Max and stuff. But to be able to have all of the Heisei movies, you know, because I think they said all the way through like Final Wars is going to be on there.
There's only one movie that's not on there, and that's King Kong versus Godzilla.
Yeah, and then they're talking about having the Hanna-Barbera show on there and everything. So it's just like, my goodness, it's just like, this is going to be on my TV constantly. Like, I'm just going to leave it on constantly and just let it play.
Yeah, no, when I saw the announcement, I was actually shocked, because this is the first time almost all the Godzilla movies from the classic era have been able to be together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like that's something that I remember back a few years ago. People would be like, yeah, we're never going to see these films together. We're never going to see anything. Like, Godzilla's always going to be like, some people have these movies, some people have these movies, some people have these movies. But here we have the Godzilla channel, with all
Yeah.
of them, and then the Mothra movies as well, which is
Oh yeah, and the Mothra movies. Yeah, it's just, oh my goodness, it's so much, and it was just like my mind was blown. I'm so excited for it. I'm just like, this is going to be, like I said, on my TV constantly. It's just going to be in the background as I do other things. I'm just going to leave the TV on.
Yeah, and you know, I'm really excited as well. I mean, I won't be watching it. I never have time anymore, but just the fact it exists, and like for people to be able to literally sit back and just watch Godzilla 24/7,
Mhm.
that's remarkable.
You might be a little too young for this reference, but I'm going to be like the episode of Friends when they accidentally somehow accidentally got an X-rated channel for free on their TV, and the people in, like, all the friends in the cast, they were scared to change the channel because they were scared that if they changed the channel, they would never be able to get it again. So it's just going to be me. It's like, I don't want to change the channel off of Godzilla because I may lose it and I may never be able to find it again. I'm just going to leave it on. It's just going to be on 24/7. Yeah, it's just, yeah, like you said, the ability to watch all of the films for people who, you know, some of them, like some of these movies, some people may not have seen if they're just like a casual Godzilla fan, so it gives them a chance. Like the Mothra movies, I know, you know, a lot of people probably haven't seen those. And then, like you said, the excitement of just having them all in one place, like, and just being able to tune in and watch it, and like when your favorite one comes around, it's like, oh, you know, it's going to be an event type thing. It's like, oh, Godzilla 2000 is coming on tonight, I'm going to go watch it. So
No, you're absolutely right there. And also, I don't know if you saw this, but they also announced a Power Rangers channel.
yes, I saw that, and it's actually already on Plex, is the channel, is the streaming service that you can use to get that one. And I mean, Plex has an 24/7 Transformers channel too. So I've been on there already watching Transformers, and then the Power Rangers one popped up right below it. So I was like, yes.
So, you know, I think that's really, so I didn't know about the Transformers. That's actually really cool.
Yeah, they play all the, like, Transformers from across, like, the different eras. Like they had Beast
Right.
Wars on the other night, but they've also had the classic, you know, 80s one and everything. So it's like, yeah, they play all across all of them.
That's so awesome. I wonder, so obviously not all the same rights holders have these films. So I'm really curious who and how like these channels are able to get all of this together.
I'm assuming that it works similar to how you can syndicate things in with like network television, because that's how a lot of I mean, these are streaming services, but they're not play to watch on demand streaming
Right.
services. These are, you know, playing like television. They're just online television. And so I think that they would probably operate on the same kind of wave as like syndication and stuff with television networks. And so, you know, it's the same reason why like Godzilla and some, you know, some of that stuff can appear on Sci-Fi Channel and everything,
Right.
because this channel goes and says, we want to play these specific movies, we have these specific advertisers that will, you know, play over them so that you can get a cut of the advertising budget and all this kind of stuff. So yeah, it's something like that, I'm sure, is what's happening.
Okay. That makes sense. Now, one thing that I am really curious about is 84, Biolante, Ghidorah, and Mothra are all on there.
Hmm.
And I know the Janus logo was in front of 84 and Biolante when they were in theaters last year. So
Right.
I'm curious if the Janus logo comes in front of those four this year and on this channel, because if they do, then that means Janus has theatrical and television rights for at least 84 and Bio, and
Hmm.
the television rights for Mothra and King Ghidorah,
Yeah.
which Toho sells those in package deals. They don't do them separately typically.
Right.
So that would mean that they
They would
also
basically
have,
have all the Heisei.
yeah, they would
Yeah.
have streaming and they would have physical media rights as well.
Hmm.
So then I wonder if we could expect those to show up on the Criterion channel soon.
Yeah, I remember talking about that, I think, because I think on Kaiju Weekly, we were doing regular Kaiju Weekly, the podcast that I run. We were doing that, and that was something that was brought up on there in the news segment was, hey, the Janus logo's on this. Is this a hint to the fact that Janus is going to bring all of these Heisei movies together and put them out together, or at least, if nothing else, then put them on the Criterion channel? And like you said, and Criterion has deal with HBO Max, and so they may end up on HBO Max. So yeah, it's just like, we don't know for sure, but that one little logo that's in front of there kind of speaks to a whole lot. And now this happening, it's like, yeah, it speaks to a whole lot.
Right. And this year, Sony loses the rights to all of their Godzilla and Mothra stuff besides Mothra 61, 98, the 98 show, Godzilla 2000, Rebirth of Mothra 3. And I don't know the exact licenses for Final Wars, SOS, or Against Mechagodzilla, but there's enough evidence to suggest they lose those.
Yeah.
Excuse me, this year too. So, I mean, with this, it could mean that Sony's already lost the rights. You know, we're halfway through this year, and maybe the contract ended in like February. We don't know.
Yeah.
So that could mean that quite literally Criterion has picked up everything they possibly could. And Criterion also in October of last year was streaming Matango, Atragon, Dogora, Frankenstein Conquers the World, Latitude Zero, I think, was in there. What else? There was more. King.
Yeah. Was Mysterians in there?
Mysterians was in there.
I thought Mysterians was in there.
It was all the Honda stuff that Universal and Sony don't have that Media Blasters had.
War for the Gargantuas.
Rodan.
War of the Gargantuas, yeah.
So, like, with that, it kind of, like, then it really shows that Criterion's picked up a lot, because then they have the rights to those. At least streaming-wise. I don't know if you can still stream them on the Criterion channel. I can fact-check that real quick.
Well, I know some of those are available on HBO Max still. Like War for the Gargantua, I keep saying War of the Gargantuans, Rodan, and a few others are available on HBO Max, but I don't know about the Criterion channel, because I actually had unsubscribed from the Criterion channel.
So,
which I need to get back to. If I ever get enough money, that is going to be one that I do want to resubscribe to. I might divert some of my money from Netflix over to Criterion channel, because I have lost interest in Netflix again.
Okay, so it still looks like all of these films are available. So they have a Criterion section in the Criterion channel called Directed by Ishiro Honda, which has Godzilla, King of the Monsters, Rodan, Mysterians, Varan the Unbelievable, Atragon, Matango, Dogora, Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster, Mothra vs. Godzilla, Frankenstein vs. Paragon, Invasion of Astro Monster, The War of the Gargantuas, Destroy All Monsters Attack, Space Amoeba, and Terror of Mechagodzilla. And then we also know, of course, they have Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla, Godzilla vs. Megalon, Godzilla vs. Gigan, Godzilla vs. Hedorah, Son of Godzilla, Ebra Horror of the Deep, and Godzilla Raids Again. And physical rights for King Kong versus through Universal. So, like, with that like, the Criterion's quickly becoming, like, the premier place for classic Showa era Godzilla and Kaiju, which is really awesome.
Yeah, at least the Toho related stuff. Yeah, they have been, and I think a big part of why they're like snatching up these ones that we were talking about, like the later movies, is because that Showa era collection that they put out did so well. Like it was so successful, and people were so excited for it, and they didn't realize how excited people were going to be for it. And so now it's like, oh, Godzilla's a marketable thing or something that they can do. And so it's like, yeah, Why not?
I know for everybody, like the big dream is to eventually get
A whole collection.
a whole. I've been calling it the classic Toho Godzilla collection.
Mm.
So in my perfect world, what that would be Criterion would reissue all 15 Showa Godzilla movies with hopefully newer restorations, and more bonus features, like make the ultimate collector's edition.
Mm-hmm.
They'd reissue those. As I think we'll see a Heisei Millennium box set together. At least that's what I think they would do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can see that.
Because I don't think you can market Heisei and Millennium separate, if I'm going to be honest.
No.
Because
Heisei I can see you doing, but Millennium definitely I can't see it being marketed by itself. It would have to be.
right, and if you do, like, if you add up the Heisei and Millennium equals 15 movies, just roughly 15, which is what the Showa was. So if you're gonna do a box set, why would you do two smaller ones when you could just do one that's about the same size as the Showa box set?
Right.
So to me, it's like I see Criterion doing a Heisei box set, and then they go back and they say, okay, let's do like our Kurosawa box set that we did way back in the day, except we do all the Godzilla movies up to 2004. They include the dubs, the subs, the trailers, the bonus features, and they make new stuff as well. And then we have a $500 Blu-ray box set of all the Toho Godzilla films for the first 50 years.
Yeah.
Like, that's my dream.
That's I would sell my kidney to be able to afford it. But I'm right there with you, because I've never owned all of the Godzilla movies. Like I don't have, like, even on VHS and piecing together the collection that I have on physical media, I still am missing a few of them because some of them are just so hard to get a hold of, or they're so expensive to try to get a hold of. So it's like I've never had all of the Godzilla movies. So having all of them in one set would just be amazing.
Yeah, no, and so it's really weird to think about this. We have never had in the franchise's lifetime, all the films from the first 50 years have never been available at the same time altogether.
Yeah.
Not on VHS, not on Laserdisc, DVD, Blu-ray, 4K. Streaming, even streaming, we have never had all the movies together available for streaming at the same time.
Yeah.
And until this All Godzilla channel was announced.
Yeah.
Actually, no, because you still can't stream King Kong versus Godzilla.
Right.
So even now, you still can't have all the films available on one format. You can do VOD for King Kong versus Godzilla, I think. But I don't think you can actually stream it. So we still live in a world where we can't do that, but this is the closest we've ever been. And if Criterion does release all of the films on DVD or Blu-ray, which it'd have to be Blu-ray, at that point, we would officially enter an era where we have every single classic Toho Godzilla movie available on Blu-ray, which would be the first time in the franchise's almost 70 years that is possible.
Yep. Just, it's amazing. I really, really hoping that it happens. Really, really hoping that it happens. But yeah, I'm also looking forward to just getting to see the Hanna-Barbera Godzilla series, because I have not watched that since. I did watch a little bit of it for the podcast, for Kaiju Weekly, my podcast back in the day. But like it is one of those series that I grew up watching. I watched when I was a little kid. Watched reruns. I'm not that old, but I did watch it on reruns, and so it's such a nostalgia trip to sit back and be able to just have that playing on the TV and just enjoying that. And so, yeah, I'm so excited to see Godzuki on TV. So yeah.
And I'm really curious if we're gonna also get the second season that hasn't been. I mean, you can watch it in chunks on YouTube, but you haven't been able to watch the full episodes since
all of it.
Netflix in like early 2010. I'm pretty sure that was when it was pulled.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, like this is, it's really cool what we're getting. Now my one thing is, and I was bringing this up on the podcast. I think it was the Shin Kamen Rider episode. I don't remember. Recently, Toho International saw half of its crew get cut, and then like they hired like 3 times the amount they had previously. I wonder if this was one of Chris Mowry's like last hurrahs, like starting this deal, or I wonder if this is like under the new direction, because this is like the Godzilla channel is a huge push and a huge step in the right direction.
Yeah, it's a big step, and it's a step that we haven't seen them do up to this point. So yeah, it is a weird. Yeah, you're right. It could be like, could it be a last hurrah, or could it be the first of what's to come? Like the So,
and if it is that, like, what do they have in store? Because if they're actually catering to us like this, like getting all these companies, because Mill Creek has a hand in that, Sony Pictures, Criterion, Janus Films, and Toho, they all have a hand in this. If they're all working together on this, like having all of this in one spot is amazing. So I'm excited to see what happens, because clearly this is a great sign. Yeah, it is. So, and speaking of great signs, another company that's been working towards doing a better job at catering to the Western fans is a company that you know very well.
Toei. Yeah.
So like Shin Kamen Rider coming to the States July 21st.
Yeah. It has been a long running joke within the fan community that Toei says no way. That's the joke. But that Toei is very strict when it comes to their tokusatsu, their live action stuff, whereas Toei has had a long history of their anime coming to and getting wide releases in the US. But when it comes to their live action stuff, not so much. And so other than Power Rangers getting its American adaptation, and them trying with VR Troopers, Beetleborgs, and Masked Rider, they tried a few other ones. Those didn't work out. Power Rangers was like the anomaly, but they just seem so close-fisted when it came to their live action stuff, whereas they're totally not like that when it comes to their animes. But yeah, you're right. They are starting to. It seems like they're loosening up. They're releasing more stuff. Getting Shin Kamen Rider. I made the comment on Kaiju Weekly that we got Shin Kamen Rider in America faster than we got Shin Ultraman. Like the point from Japanese release to American release was like almost nothing. Compared to what it was for like Shin Ultraman, which was like a 6 months, 9 months wait between the two. And so it was just like, yeah, I was so surprised and so excited that we got this this release over here.
Right. No, absolutely. And to that fact as well, this just goes to show that Toei does have the means to do this. Like, so to defend Shin Ultraman and its long wait, Tsuburaya is a pretty small company. Like they produce a ton of content, but in all reality, Tsuburaya is like a subsidiary of 2 different companies that co-own it, from one person who just started it because he created the effects for Toho.
That's true. Yeah.
But like to like that point, Toei is quite literally the second largest film company in Japan.
That's what I was gonna say. Like, we forget because of the amount of content that Subaraya puts out with Ultraman and everything, but that's all they do. Like, that is it. Whereas Toei is like this huge distribution company and production company and all of this, so they have a way more, involved. I mean, they're like Warner Brothers, but for Japan, whereas like Toho is more like a Disney in Japan. And so yeah, they're a huge company. So I mean, yeah, which again adds to the fact of like, why hasn't Toei been able to get some of this stuff out to us? Now, I really appreciate the fact that they are getting so much of it out to us now. I mean, we've got, Kamen Rider Black is out, and Kuga and 01 and Black RX is coming, and all these ones. But I'm wondering if we're going to run into a problem like we're talking about with Toho, where all these different titles are being distributed through different people. So in the future, if they ever want to kind of bring them under one umbrella, well, now we've already have this contract with this person, but this contract with this other one, it's like, then you're going to run into problems there. So that's the only thing I'm worried about with that. Whereas with like Supro and Ultraman, it's all under one banner, and so they can, if they ever want to put out a collection, or they want to combine once, sets together or reissue them, it's all under one banner.
Right. Yeah. And, I so like in terms of Toei and Kamen Rider specifically, because Kamen Rider is Toei's best brand when it comes to their live action toku. You have Media Blasters, who has the ownership for all the movies that are like one-offs. That being Zio, J, Kamen Rider Shin Prologue, The First, The Next, and Kamen Rider World. And then you have Shout Factory, who has Kamen Rider 71, Kamen Rider Kuga, Ryuki, New Generations, Heisei Generations,
and 01.
And 01, and then the specials for those. You had Generations Kikaida that held the rights to V3, but it seems like they've lost it since, as of recently. And then you have Discotech, who has Black and Black RX.
And possibly more. We'll see.
So it's really weird to see that it seems like Toei wants Media Blasters handling their movies, Shout Factory handling all but 71, or like all the Heisei and Reiwa stuff, but 71, and then Discotech handling all of their Showa besides 71. And 71 is the only show that's available stateside currently that doesn't have a release outside of the streaming.
That's true. Yeah, no physical release on that one. All the other ones have had. Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
And I know back about 10 years ago, Shout Factory did reach out to Toei about releasing Kamen Rider 71 as a DVD box set. But at the time, it was too expensive to license. And like, you have 93 episodes, correct? There's 93 episodes and 2 movies.
Yes, I think so. It's 90-something episodes.
And then the 2 movies, which is a lot. So if Toei and Shout Factory came to an agreement for a Blu-ray box set, because at this point now, like that's what they would have to release. You're looking at a 2-volume box set. Yeah,
that's the thing, because it's literally twice the size of all of the other series or more. And the reason why was because 71, even though we count it as one season, it is technically 2 different seasons in one, which was unusual because, a lot of the tokusatsu series, each season is a totally different series. They treat it as a totally different series. But that first one, they did 2 seasons in one. It's very unusual for them to do that. But yeah, you're right. It would be just like the size of 2 box sets of any other series.
And if they were to do a single like box set, not only would it be like this thick, but I feel like it would be like $200 easily.
Yep. Oh yeah, I can see that.
I don't think that would be the best idea for them to do. I know, was it Discotech just announced they are releasing an anime, but the anime's like 100 episodes long, so they're doing like 2 volumes because it's already going to be like $80,
right?
Half of the show. They can't do them together like that. Just on a consumer standpoint won't work.
And that's typical for anime. Like that is a typical to release multiple volumes of an anime even in Blu-ray, like because a lot of animes have been going for so long. One Piece, for example, with like 1,000 episodes. And it's I was watching something. What was it? I saw a meme online of somebody saying, "Nah, 1,000 episodes, that's too long. I'm gonna go find the One Piece myself." And it's just them on a canoe. It's like, yeah, that's how I feel every time I go to watch One Piece. It's like, because I've never actually watched the show. I've only seen like bits and pieces of it, and every time I go to watch it, it's like, yeah, that length though, man, that length.
Right. And so was it the show or was it the manga where they actually did a box set that was like 2 feet long?
I think
it had like a mural.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was the manga. I might be wrong though, but yeah, they put out this huge, like in each one, the back of them had all the mural. I mean, and anybody who watched anime or collected anime back in the day with VHS releases, that's what they used to do with a lot of those. I mean, Dragon Ball Z, I used to have a bunch of the Dragon Ball Z VHSs, and I could never complete the whole picture because they we didn't get all of the releases where I live, so it was just like I had to put them together as I could.
I remember because Star Trek did that. Star Trek did that for the original series movies, and I was missing like one. So like I had almost the entire Enterprise, and then like one of the sides was just cut off. So like I went out of my way to get that VHS because I had to have the complete mural.
Yeah. Now you're a physical release person, and I have to ask this. This is something that's always been on my mind, and since we're bringing it up, so that box set, that Godzilla box set back in the day, where it was like where you could piece it together, it was the full mural. There was one extra one that they released that could slot in and replace one of them. What's the story behind that? I never knew the story behind that.
So there's I believe there's a total of 3 releases of the box set.
Okay.
The US one has it has 84, Gigan, Ghidorah, Son of Godzilla, or hang on. I want to make sure that I tell you this right.
Okay.
Because there's 2 releases and then there's the extra. So let me take a look here. Because I have the box. Yeah, so the box has 5 movies, and it's Megalon, Gigan, 85 Ghidorah, and Mechagodzilla.
Yeah, I remember Mechagodzilla being there.
That's the US box set. And then a little later on, Son of Godzilla got released.
Okay.
And so that created the mural. So Son of Godzilla was just a later release that they issued.
Okay.
Now, in Canada, they didn't have the rights to Ghidorah, the 3-headed monster.
Oh.
So Anchor Bay licensed Ebra, Horror of the Deep, and put that one in place of Ghidorah. So you have the US box set, which has 5, and then Son of Godzilla got released later, so you have that extra one. And then you have the Canadian release, which doesn't have Ghidorah.
But had a different one.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
And the funny thing is, the Sea Monster box set, what they ended up doing is I don't know why they did it, but they took VHS artwork from the Video Treasures Godzilla versus the Sea Monster. and they cut out Ebra, and they put
Yes, I've
that.
seen that. Yeah, with him like kind of poking up from the bottom.
Yes.
Yeah, I have seen that.
And they did that and just put the template that was on all the other releases. So it looks really weird because all the others have like a cutout version of the monsters. But you have Ebra here that's this artistic rendition that just looks so out of place. But
yeah,
you gotta love the VHS Godzilla tapes.
yeah, those were the ones I watched the most as a kid. Was that whole set, because I would just take one, put it in the VHS player, watch it, and then when it was done, I'd put in another one, then put in another, and I had because of me being in the US, I had the US release of all of them, including Son of. I did have the Son of one, so I had the full set. But then I did have all the other. I had Sea Monster. I had that old Sea Monster release that had the artist one, but it's one of my favorite ones where Godzilla is standing and kind of doing his fight, the radioactive breath, the atomic breath down on Ebra, and it's this beautiful artistic rendition of it, and it's like blue and everything.
Yes.
I really like that box, and that was the box that I watched as a kid because it was one of my favorite. I just love the box art, and so that's what I would always pick movies based on box art. To me as a kid, whenever I was watching Godzilla, I was like, oh, this box art looks great, let's put it in. That's why I watched King Kong versus Godzilla, because the box art for King Kong versus Godzilla back in the day looked a lot better than what the movie actually looked.
Yeah. and it had like Heisei versions of both of them, so it looked like a Heisei Godzilla and King Kong movie.
But
see, I grew up with the Anchor Bay. If I remember correctly, I watched the Anchor Bay Godzilla VHSs, the Heisei King Kong versus Godzilla box set, the HBO Biollante, that had the Ori poster.
Oh yeah.
And then the rest that I watched, it was the Scimitar Godzilla VHSs with the artist rendition of all the like Godzilla and Ghidorah and Manila and Mechagodzilla.
That's the one where Monster Zero looks really weird because he looks like, isn't that the one that where it doesn't look like Ghidorah? He looks almost like a serpent with like green eyes, and he doesn't have like the hair or anything that Ghidorah has, and so he looks like a totally different monster on the cover of that one.
I think so. Right. I mean, it looks like Ghidorah, but also it doesn't.
Right.
Yeah. Yep. I love the Godzilla design for those. Like, he was really dinosaurian. And I found the artist's like LinkedIn a while back, and I've thought about messaging and seeing if I could interview him, because like that was my childhood in a nutshell, was those VHSs.
Kaiju Ramen exclusive.
So I've
totally, yeah, that would be awesome. Because yeah, I'm like you. Those were ones I remember going into Walmart and seeing those VHSs sitting on the shelf and being like, "That looks awesome." And that was one of the things that always got me, was because the Monster Zero one. Because at the time when I saw the VHS, I didn't know anything about Monster Zero. I thought he was a totally new monster, and the artwork looks like a new monster. And then you put it in, and it's like, oh, it's just Ghidorah. It's a little disappointing, but then as you get older, you realize, oh no, that's one of the best movies. So
right. No, it was, and I remember because back whenever I didn't know that there was like only at the time, let's see, so this would have been before 2014's and Shin, so that would have meant there was 28, right? 28,
somewhere around there, probably, yeah.
17.
Because 2006 was 2004 was Final Wars. So
is it 26 then? I think it's 26.
Yeah, I think so.
So I was like, I wonder what other Godzilla movies there are. So I was like, is there like a Godzilla versus the Snow Monster? Like what Godzilla movies can I locate? Because I mean, at the time, You had like Godzilla versus Monster Zero, Invasion of Astro Monster, Godzilla versus The Thing, Mothra versus, like there's all these titles, and I was like, are these all different movies? Like I remember digging and like seeing all these titles, like what's Gojira? What's Godzilla King of the Monsters?
Yeah.
What's Godzilla Raids Again? Or and so at one point I thought there was like hundreds of Godzilla movies.
It feels like it sometimes. It feels like it.
No, it was a great like those early years of being a Godzilla fan specifically was like there was just so much. And you know, it's I don't know if it's sad or awesome now that like I look back and I'm like, oh yeah, there's like the Fabulous Empire and all these other like titles for these Godzilla movies, and I know all the alternative English titles and all the cuts and all that. I'm like, man, I've learned so much. But with that, there's also, I've talked about this, like there's the point of what's left to discover.
Yeah. The two Godzilla movies I still will forever call by their American names, I will never not call them, is Godzilla versus the Sea Monster. I because that's the one I grew up watching. That was the one, probably either that one or Son of Godzilla was my first Godzilla movie. One of those two. I don't know which one. Those were the two oldest ones that we had, because we had other VHSs of those two before even that box set that came out with Son of Godzilla. So I do call, you know, Godzilla versus the Sea Monster, and I do say Godzilla versus the Smog Monster.
Okay.
And those two, that is what I stick with those. Everything else, I'm like, okay, yeah, it's you know, or maybe Godzilla's Revenge, All Monsters Attack. I go back and forth on that one sometimes too.
I do too. On that one specifically. So I've tried to train myself to say Ebra, Horror of the Deep. But sometimes it'll slip and I'll be like Godzilla versus the Sea Monster. It's really hard sometimes. I mean, like Gigantus the Fire Monster, I've never had an issue like calling it that, because I've always known it as Godzilla Raids Again.
Yeah.
I can't wait for the day where we're like, oh yeah, there's Godzilla and Godzilla's counterattack and King Kong versus Godzilla and Mothra versus Godzilla and three giant monsters, Earth's Greatest Battle and Great Monster War, and like we just go straight to like the exact Japanese translations.
Right.
Godzilla Gigan, or what is it? Godzilla I think it's Godzilla versus Gigan Earth Defense Directive. I think that's the Japanese like direct translation.
Let me look and see, because I thought that one was one of them is like on something on Monster Island. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, that was Godzilla on Monster Island was the American,
yes,
the United States release, and then it's Earth Destruction Directive Godzilla versus Gigan. Yeah,
Earth Destruction Directive Godzilla versus Gigan. You have like Mechagodzilla's counterattack. So one that I actually frequently don't call the English title and call it by the Japanese direct translation is Godzilla Mothra Mechagodzilla Tokyo SOS. Because I remember as a kid, because I was a kid when those DVDs came out, I remember watching them and seeing like the title sequence, and I was like, that doesn't just say Godzilla Tokyo SOS. It says, I see Godzilla, I see Mechagodzilla, and it looks like Mothra.
Right.
So I would always be like Godzilla, Mothra, Mechagodzilla Tokyo SOS. Or you have like Godzilla X Megaguirus, the G Annihilation Strategy.
Yeah.
And that's a way cooler title than Godzilla versus Megaguirus. Like the G Annihilation Strategy, like
yeah, you kind of. I kind of wonder if the movie would have done better if they had gone with a title like that,
right?
Because at least over here, I mean, you know.
So there's an English title that's longer than the Japanese one that I cannot stand, and that's Godzilla and Mothra: The Battle for Earth.
Oh yeah,
I hate that title. So the reason, in Japan you have Mothra versus Godzilla, and then you have Godzilla versus Mothra.
Right.
In the United States, you had Godzilla versus the Thing, but then they changed it to Mothra versus Godzilla
Right.
for future releases. And when Sony got the rights to Godzilla versus Mothra, they were like, well, we can't really do Godzilla versus Mothra because there's already Mothra versus Godzilla, and that'll create problems understanding which title you're talking about. Just like how we all like Godzilla King of the Monsters. Like that's there's always like, which one are you talking about? Or even Godzilla versus Kong. Like some people are like, which one are you talking about?
Right, because it's the same situation: King Kong versus Godzilla, and then Godzilla versus Kong. So, but to a lot of people, Godzilla versus Kong has just been the title for both of them. Yeah. The another one that always gets me is the Mechagodzilla ones. So you have Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla, which in Japanese was Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla, Godzilla Tai Mechagodzilla, Gojira Tai Mechagodzilla. And then in the Heisei era is Gojira Tai Mechagodzilla, and that's it. That's it was literally the exact same title.
So but actually, so an interesting thing about the Japanese titles is in the Showa era, it's Gojira Tai Meguro, Gojira Tai Mecha
right,
Musora Tai Gojira. But in the Heisei era, the actual titles is Gojira versus Mecha.
Now, see on here it says when I'm reading it, the way it's written out is with Tai.
Interesting. So, like in the posters, when you see the posters, it has the kanji for the kaiju, and then it has in
verses.
Verses. So it's stylized as Gojira versus Mecha.
Yeah, but they still call it, when they say it, Gojira Tai Mecha, which is the same exact title as the original one from the 70s. And so in the US release, it's Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla 2, which makes it sound like a sequel. But then you also have Godzilla versus Godzilla against Mechagodzilla from the Millennium era. And it's just like, and then it just gets even more complicated with that.
Right. And so the weird thing, so I kind of like this, but also don't. So like the Japanese title for Godzilla against Mechagodzilla is Gojira X Mecha or Godzilla X Mechagodzilla.
Right.
And now they've brought the X back with Godzilla X Kong, the New Empire.
Yeah.
Which was a really interesting thing to see.
Yeah. But again, with the X is only used in print, and not in speaking. When you speak it in Japanese, you would say Gojira Tai Mechagodzilla. And it's just, and I don't know if I'm lagging or there I am. Okay. But yeah, I was looking up the titles to double check what they were, but so it's still said it's the same way, or sometimes some people will even say Gojira Mechagodzilla without even saying the Tai, because the X, sometimes you don't pronounce the X, or you don't say an X. I know that's a big debate in anime, because Hunter x Hunter is an anime. Hunter. Which one do you say? So it's
well, because there was also which one was it? There's a Kamen Rider. Oh, it's Kamen Rider Cross, right? Instead of Kamen Rider X.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The Kamen Rider titles are completely because like Kamen Rider W is not W in Japanese. It's double.
Right.
It's Kamen Rider double.
There's is it OOO, which is
O's.
O's,
O's and Phi's, which is spelt with five or like 3 5s, but it's Phi's. So Forze is it's just they're the Kamen Rider titles are weird, and the way they adapt them into English is so weird too.
My favorite is Agito, because it has the AGIT, but the O is the Omega symbol.
Omega symbol, yeah.
So it's Agito, which is it's undoubtedly Japanese, and I love that.
Oh, that is a fun series. Like that is when I watched that series, I had been hearing from the like Kamen Rider fandom that it's like, oh, Agito, it's a disappointing series. It's not that fun. It's not, a lot of complaints about it. And then I watched it and I'm like, this is actually pretty good. I mean, I can see maybe you'd complain if you watched it week to week because it's a slow burn. It is a very slow burn. But if you watch it, like just cram it within like a week, it's a great series.
Interesting. See, I want to watch Kamen Rider. I know there's like the he doesn't like Kamen Rider, he doesn't like Power Rangers. Like I know that's the thing, but like I would love to watch all of Kamen Rider. I'd love to watch all of Power Rangers. I'd love to watch Super Sentai.
But you want to watch everything in order.
Right. Which creates a problem. If Shout Factory were to release Kamen Rider 71, I would try to get through all of 80. I would try so hard to get through 80 and all of Heisei and New Gen Ultraman. Like get caught up and start Kamen Rider. I would do that in a heartbeat.
See, that's what gets me though, is because you talk about wanting to watch things in order, but it's like, but you're up to like you're almost to the Heisei era of Ultraman. And you haven't watched anything Showa from Kamen Rider. It's like, Kamen Rider, like that stuff came out before that.
This is true, but I also am afraid. So, like, I know some of us, speaking of some of us, one of them, Rex. Hi there, Rex.
Hey,
like Rex, and I know you've done it, and Nathan does it. You guys will watch shows, and then you'll watch, like, I think Rex right now is watching. He's watching a Sentai show and he's watching Kamen Rider V3 and he's trying to get through I think it's Ultraman Taro or Ultraman Leo, one of the two, or he might have finished it already, but like you're doing 3 shows.
Well, no, so I won't do that. I won't watch them simultaneously. I will watch one show and that will be the only Toku show I watch for the time being. Like I've wanted to watch there was another Toku show I was going to start. I can't remember what it was now that it had popped up, and I was like, oh, I need to watch that. But then I was like, no, I'm still watching this other one. I'm going to finish that one first, then I'll get to it. And so, yeah, I do watch them one at a time, but I don't mind bouncing around from franchise though. I will watch all of like Ultraman Orb. I will watch all of that before I watch anything Kamen Rider. But as soon as I'm done with that, I will go and watch maybe something Kamen Rider related.
Gotcha.
And so I'll do that. And I don't mind doing that because if I watch too much of one thing, I get bored. And I think that happened to me with Ultraman because I was doing that with Ultraman. I was trying to watch all of the releases as they were coming out from Mill Creek. And I just started getting bored. And to me, Ultraman's not that interesting after a while because it's the same thing over and over again. There's no like until you get to New Generation's heroes, like the new generation or the Heisei, like the Neo Heisei era of Ultraman, they kind of are all just the same and just doing the same thing over and over again. And I just get tired of that. I get bored of that. Whereas with Kamen Rider, it's different because each series is reinventing itself and completely and yeah, you're going to have your tropes, which, is the same with any tokusatsu, but they reinvent each series like completely from the ground up. Nothing is, nothing really carries over from series to series, especially when you get to the Heisei era. So it's just, yeah. So I've found more excitement in watching Kamen Rider than I have with Ultraman because I just kind of got bored with it.
Gotcha. I mean, I could understand that. Rex says right now he's watching Ultraman Max. That's the Ultraman show he's watching, which I've heard a lot of good stuff about. See, I feel like I kind of had your problem, except mine wasn't I was bored of it. My problem was I watched Ultraman Taro. After what? So I'm going to be honest. I have never watched a show that has made me more angry and more done with tokusatsu than Ultraman Taro. Ultraman Taro is an atrocity, is one of the worst tokusatsu things I have watched. It's going to be hard eventually on a podcast I will cover Ultraman Taro. And I don't know. I'm gonna have to like take up drinking to do this. I can't. There is no way I can sit and rewatch all 59 episodes of Ultraman Taro.
I haven't actually seen Taro. I've seen Leo, and if you're saying it's worse than Leo,
it's worse than Leo. Gets bad towards the end, but it's not nearly as bad as Taro towards the end.
Oh man, then Taro's got to be something if it's worse, because Leo I found just insufferable. Just absolutely, just did not enjoy that one at all.
So Leo, and here's my problem with Leo. Have you watched Iron King?
Bits and pieces. That's one I haven't started and watched.
So Iron King does what Leo's conclusion does, and it's like really like it's the same story like 4 times. Like there's 4 sections of the show, and it's the same thing all 4 times, but it's cooler and it's more entertaining because the characters are actually interesting. Leo just destroys their interesting characters and then tries to like it literally, Leo is a show that kills itself slowly, and you are like towards the end like, oh, I got 5 episodes left. Oh, we're done there. Let's get 4 episodes. We got this. Let's
and I've gotten to the point where I'm like, if I'm not enjoying a show, I just don't watch it. I have gotten to like I used to like suffer through shows because I'm like I feel like I have to, but now I have gotten to the point where like my time is so valuable now because I have such limited time that it's like if I don't like a show, I'm not going to watch it. That's like even with Kamen Rider, and I love Kamen Rider, but Revice, I didn't like Revice, so I'm like I'm not watching that. I jumped straight to Geats and start when Geats started. I started watching Geats, and I've enjoyed Geats. I really like that show, but it's like so if I don't enjoy it, I don't watch it.
So I don't remember if we've talked about it, but there's also another Kamen Rider show that recently came out that's really short. What did you think of Kamen Rider Black Sun?
Oh, okay. So that is one of those ones. I watched the first couple of episodes. It didn't jive with me, and so I stopped it. Now I have read, what happens in the show so that I can know, just so in conversation somebody talks about it, I know what happened in the show. But I don't know. I don't fault people for loving it because like I can see why people would like it. It's a well-made show. It just didn't jive with me on some level. I don't know. It felt very Shin Godzilla-esque and in that way I didn't, because I don't know if you've watched it.
I've probably not.
So me and Nathan have talked about this, and we've talked about it on and off of podcasts. Where and I can't remember what his name is, but the person, the mind behind Black Sun, the creator and the writer and everybody, he was very much disillusioned and kind of frustrated by the politics that was happening in Japan
right
around the time, and a lot of and I'm not going to choose a side politically, obviously, but a lot of the stuff that's in Black Sun is heavily influenced by Abe's kind of political. And if you know anything about Abe, the prime minister or former prime minister, he was the one that was just assassinated last year, or earlier this year, whichever one.
Time runs together anymore.
Yeah, it all blurs together. But he was the one that was just assassinated, and he's also the one that like he was assassinated, and most people in Japan are like, because he was just not he was a very popular person within a very specific group, the very far right wing, very, very ultra conservative, ultra nationalist side of Japan, but majority of Japanese are not that. That's a very small group but very influential group. And so so he was heavily in. So the creator, the one who is like the mind behind Black Sun, he was took a lot of the politics and stuff that was happening in Japan at that time and kind of reinterprets them and reforms them into Black Sun, puts them in Black Sun. It's very heavily inspired by that, the way that Shin Godzilla was. Like Shin Godzilla was heavily inspired by what was happening in Japan, both like natural disaster wise, but also politically, and that was put in there. And so if you are someone who knows that Black Sun, you can see it, like you can pick those things out. If not, if you don't know that, then it's just an interesting story, just because it does have some depth and stuff to it, but it just didn't speak to me on a certain level. So I don't fault it. I don't fault anybody for liking it. I think Rex likes it.
Yeah, Rex said that Black Sun is more enjoyable if you like the director Shirashi's films. He feels.
Yeah,
I don't
which
know
makes
what
sense.
he's done, but
it makes sense though. It's like how I say about Shin Kamen Rider. Like you might enjoy Shin Kamen Rider a lot more if you are someone who is already a fan of Anno, because there's so much Anno-isms in Shin Kamen Rider. It's like and I said that I think in my review that I put on Kaiju Ramen's website, as far as Shin Kamen Rider was concerned, that you can't go into it and then complain about some of the Anno-isms, because it's like going into a Tarantino film and complaining about the Tarantino-isms that's in his films. It's like
right.
That's what you get when you're going into it. You know what to expect.
Right. Rex brought up that he's done a lot of Yakuza crime dramas, like Blood of the Wolves, probably being his most successful through Shudder. See, so it's funny you say that, Travis, about Shin Kamen Rider, because I have went on record saying that Anno is not a good director. I've complained about Anno between Neon Genesis Evangelion, End of Evangelion, Shin Godzilla, and I've made some complaints about Shin Ultraman. Because let's be honest, he ghost directed that and co-wrote it. I've complained a lot about Anno, but Shin Kamen Rider is my favorite Shin movie. I think it's the best out of the Shin films.
I'm surprised by that. Just because I didn't expect you to like it that much. I mean, I'm not surprised that you liked it. I'm surprised that you liked it that much. I think Anno is better when he has Higuchi with him. Like when Higuchi Higuchi's the one that like did Shin Ultraman, right?
Did Shin Ultraman.
Yeah. Because if you actually look at the stuff that Anno has done when he's worked with Higuchi or with someone else, like as like a partnership, they turn out better than when he has like he is the sole creative voice behind the camera. I feel like when he's the sole creative voice behind the camera, it's not as good. He's a very style over substance kind of director. And whereas I think Higuchi and some of those ones that he partners with, I say Higuchi because that's his most notable partnership that he does, but there's others too. When he does that, they bring the substance and he brings the style, and then you get it's a more rounded product. But just on his own, I think Anno's a bit of style over substance.
Sure. See, so I talked about this in the Shin Kamen Rider episode, and if anybody wants to hear like my full thoughts on it, definitely check out the almost 3-hour episode Rex and I did talking about Shin Kamen Rider. Shin Kamen Rider reminds me a lot of Anno's work on Cutie Honey, which that sounds really weird out of context, but in 2004, Anno did a live-action adaptation of Cutie Honey.
It's the movie that no one ever talks about when they talk about Anno's, because it's so different. It's so different from his normal style of filmmaking that people don't even realize it's him.
Right. Now, it does have a few subtle Anno-isms, And one of the biggest ones was my complaint about the film, and that's the movie feels really weird ending the way it does. My biggest gripe with Anno is he cannot do an ending at all. Evangelion I thought was bad. End of Evangelion as a movie is awful. Like probably the worst movie I've experienced in a while.
So I'm guessing you haven't seen the reboot movies.
No.
Okay.
I was going to, and then some stuff happened, and I am kind of cursed to watch those. I'm afraid to ever pick them up ever.
I haven't watched the reboot ones.
I think Shin Godzilla also falls under what Cutie Honey does and has an abrupt ending. And then I think Shin Ultraman's
credit, though, or at least to excuse him a little bit, when it comes to Evangelion, the ending of the actual series was not his choice.
Correct.
That was kind of forced on him.
This is true.
And so was and to be fair, so was End of Evangelion too, because he was not planning on doing that, and then the fans and stuff kept begging him to do it, and the studio kind of said, "Yes, let's do it the way you wanted to do it," and so he did it. But it was just like, yeah, no, he never intended it to end the way it ended.
This is true. Rex is a firm believer that End of Evangelion is Anno's best movie, which Rex can have the wrong opinion.
I've never been a fan. So to me, and there's a ton of people who love Evangelion, and and that's totally fine. The thing with me and Evangelion is I watched it too late. I think you had to, like, most people who really, really love it watched it at a very impressionable age, or a very specific age. And I was past that kind of like angsty part of my life and was beyond that. And so going back and watching this, it just kind of makes me feel uncomfortable, because it's like, I remember being that, and I remember being an angsty kid, and it was kind of not fun looking back on it. So now, so it doesn't give me that nostalgia, and it doesn't give me all of those feelings that people who are the diehard fans of it get. I just, it didn't speak to me, and I'm sure it probably would have spoken to me if I had watched it at the time when most people do watch it, but I was busy watching other things and watching that.
Right. See, I feel like I might have watched it around the time I was supposed to, but my whole thing is I like endings where I feel like they've concluded the story. And I was liking End of Evangelion not End of Evangelion, just the show Evangelion, till about a little over halfway through. Then when Anno started to try and end the show, I guess in air quotes, that's when I was starting to be like, wait a minute. There's something wrong here. And like you said, budgetary reasons and the studio led to the final episode of Neon Genesis Evangelion. That's why it turned out the way it did. And then everybody was like, you need to do better. This could be better. And then End of Evangelion was birthed. But Anno's also done a manga ending and then the reboot movie endings.
Yeah.
So he's had 4 shots at doing this ending. And I feel like you shouldn't have to do four attempts to make an ending work.
No, it's, and at a certain point, it almost feels like Ridley Scott's ending to Blade Runner, where they're just constantly like, well, hey, can you come back and do another, re-edit of this? Can you come back and do another cut? And he's like, I don't want to, but the studio's like, well, if you don't do it, we're going to get somebody else to do it. Okay, fine, I'll do it.
And according to Rex, which he said he could be wrong, very little of the original ending made its way into anything. And he's fact-checking me. Anno did not do the manga ending. That was Yoshiyuki Sadamoto, whom was the character designer for the show. But I still think there's still
Anno
4
had
endings
influence on that.
Right.
Yeah.
There's 4 endings to the show, or the franchise, I guess. And it's not because I feel like I'm pretty sure the rebuild movies were done so Anno could properly tell the ending. I'm pretty sure that was the idea, and I mean, he delayed Evangelion 3.0 plus 1.0 plus 1.0,
Yeah,
whatever, because he wanted to
find the square root of X.
Well, because that's funny, because like the first one's like you are alone, and then the next one's like you are parentheses not alone, and then there's it. Those are always so funny. The manga ending is also amazing. It'd probably be your favorite. Rex says, I don't know, maybe, but I also don't do manga. I'm not a manga.
You're not an anime person. I was gonna say never watch Big O, because Big O has a very metatextual ending, very similar to Evangelion. And yeah, that show, I mean, that's a good show, and it is a fantastic show. Mechs fighting giant mechs and the whole mystery behind them, but the resolution of the mystery in that show, it just turns very weird and metatextual. That's just kind of like it felt very Evangelion. Well, the thing is, I watched Big O first, so to me it was like, okay, but I know mentally, I know Big O came out after Evangelion.
Right. So like all that to say, like for me, Shin Kamen Rider, it felt like they actually concluded it.
Yeah,
I felt like I had sat and I had watched a full movie. It does have the compilation movie feel that Shin Ultraman also had, but I feel like Shin Kamen Rider perfects the stuff that Shin Ultraman did with being a little too episodic and having the same story repeat itself in the middle of the film. Like all of that like made me not like Shin Ultraman nearly as much as Shin Kamen Rider. And Rex is now threatened to tie me to a chair at T-Fest and force me to experience all of Evangelion. So this is kind of my rule of thumb. I've already watched Neon Genesis. I've watched End of. I would watch the rebuild movies, but I would have to be in a spot where like I feel like I could and not die. Like those movies, like because of the events that transpired when I was watching them, there's just like I have this little thing in my head that's like they're out to get me. They're out to kill me.
I would have to watch them with a group. I don't think I can't, after sitting through Evangelion and End of by myself to watch it, to cover it on the podcast. I'm just like, no, if I watch this ever again, or the rebuild movies, I need to be with someone who appreciates these, because then maybe that will come off and I'll actually finally appreciate them, but not by myself. Never again.
I'm the same way, except either I don't care if they like them. I just need somebody to either endure the pain with me, or enjoy
that too. Yeah, either endure with me, or your excitement for it might rub off on me. I don't know. Either way, I just can't be. I'm not gonna be alone watching those movies.
Yeah. Because I have the most awkward end of Evangelion viewing story ever, which was I had a lunch break at one of my first earlier jobs, and I went to a pizza place, and I had enough time to watch the movie, so I was streaming it on Netflix while eating pizza at this public location. And that's not a movie you watch in public. That's actually a movie that, like, if your mother walks in and you're watching, you like shut off.
Mm-hmm.
So I had the worst viewing experience ever. And a lot of people are like, well, why didn't you just like stop it and watch it later? I was like, I already started. Like, I already committed to this thing, and I wasn't going to not like. I was going to follow through on.
To be fair, there are way worse animes you could be watching in public.
There is Boku no Pico. There is.
Boku there is a lot. There's a lot of them. There's a lot of them out there. I am going to. I mean, I'm not a big Evangelion fan. That is something that we do have in common. But I am an anime fan. I do like a lot of anime, and so me and Rex need to get together and like force you to watch more anime because we got to get you to watch some anime. You would like some anime.
Here's the thing. I have to like watch my toku first. I need to catch up. I still haven't watched a few. Like, there's probably 20 movies in my collection I have not picked up yet, and I feel like we're about to have a cameo appearance.
She's meowing and come here. Oh, come here. Oh, she's not happy with me. Oh, she's not happy. You want to say hello? You want to say hello? Say hello, Daisy.
Oh.
Meow. Meow. Oh, poor thing. She's not happy with me. Look at that evil face. You going to kill me? No, you going to kill me? Oh, don't kick over the microphone. Yeah. Oh, okay, come on, Daisy. Oh, you fat cat.
And there's the required cameo appearance by Daisy.
Yep. I'll feed you later. It's not time yet.
So Rex says specifically I need to get into Gundam. So, okay. I, like 3 years ago, when I used to work at a place where we sold old DVDs and whatnot, I picked up the first 3 volumes that Bandai put out of Mobile Suit Gundam, the original series. I want to watch them.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard a lot about Gundam, and I think I might like Gundam.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't have time.
Yeah, exactly. Like I'm the same way. I have been wanting to get into Gundam for years, and I'm just like, oh, it is one of the. It's the same thing what I talked about earlier. It's so much, and there's so little time and so much to get into, and it's just like, yeah. I did watch some Gundam and what's funny is when I was a kid. So Gundam Wing, which is arguably one of the most popular ones, and arguably one of the ones that people love the most, was on. Watched a little bit of that, but kept missing it. I never watched it consistently enough to get into it. But after Gundam Wing, they had G Gundam, and that is most people's like least favorite Gundam series, and that was the one I watched as a kid, and I liked it because I was like, I thought it was great. It was just like it was this world tournament where all of the Gundams fought each other, and they were from different countries, and each country had their own design, and I just thought that was kind of so cool because, like, especially the Chinese one, the Chinese Gundam had 2 arms that were dragon heads that just like, oh man, it was so cool. So yeah, but most people are like, no, that's the worst one. So, but I liked it as a kid because it was the only one that I liked, and the only one I watched.
Fair. I also, another anime that I've wanted to watch is Akira. I've been told I like, if I'm a fan of any like Japanese genre, I need to watch Akira. And I like, that's probably the most popular anime from Japan.
Yeah. I mean, it consistently makes like the top 100 or like in the top 10 greatest movies of all time. And that's not greatest animated movies, greatest Japanese movies, greatest movies. Like it is consistently put on par with like The Godfather and, other, really big masterpieces, Schindler's List and things like that. So yeah, like it is absolutely a must watch. It is the reason, like, I mean, you can point to a lot of things, but if it wasn't for Akira, we would not have the Japanese influence and influx of media in general, anime specifically, but media in general that we do, because Akira kind of made Japanese culture popular in the US again, because there was some influx in earlier generations, but it made it popular again, and so because of that, we have the influx that we have.
Right. I've looked up a list of like the top 100 movies, and I'm looking to see if I could, like, it was just a random one, so I'm looking to see if I can actually locate. So there's a lot of Japanese films on here. One of the first anime one that I saw was Spirited Away.
Oh yeah, that one makes the top list all the time. Yeah.
So I'm just curious because I know I've seen it on a lot of lists. Of course, Seven Samurai was on there. Sancho the Bailiff, Rashomon.
Yeah, Rashomon's going to be on there.
You know, your typical Kurosawa films that are peak cinema. Let's see here. The fact that I haven't seen a Godzilla movie yet is a little disappointing.
Yeah. Now the list that I'm looking at, and this is from American Film Institute. I don't know which one you're looking at. That I'm looking at AFI's top 100. King Kong is number 43.
See, I've seen a lot of King Kongs. I'm trying to think here. So Akira wasn't on this list. Here, I'm going to look at the Rolling Stone. So let's see here. This one, for some reason, has Spider-Man Far From Home as 97 on the top 100.
Okay.
So
yeah,
I'm already going to discount this one.
Yeah, I mean, I like, that's a good movie, but not what top 100.
No, definitely not. So top 10, you've got Forrest Gump, Back to the Future, Gone with the Wind, Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back, Jaws, Pulp Fiction, The Godfather, A New Hope, and Titanic. Number 1's Titanic. Or no, number 2's Titanic. Number 1, Shawshank Redemption.
I just realized that American Film Institute, they only picked American films for their list, so it's the top 100 American films. That's why there was no foreign films on there. I was like, there are no foreign films on this list. Oh, it's American films. That's why.
So I looked up. So here is the movie. I don't remember what that's an acronym for, but this is the top 200 Japanese movies. And so starting at number 1, you've got Seven Samurai. Number 2 is Tokyo Story, Ikaru, The Castle of Sand.
Ikiru. Have you seen Ikiru?
I've not. That's a Kurosawa film I really want to see.
Oh, it is so good. I think that one might be my favorite Kurosawa film. Although to be fair, I haven't seen all of them yet. I'm still working my way through Kurosawa's filmography, but that one is right now my favorite one.
So looking here real quick, Rex says that he's never seen G Gundam, but a lot of people do tend to like it for how wild it is, minus the stereotypes.
Yeah,
Rex,
I mean, there was a lot of stereotypes in it, but it was fun.
Rex also wants to say Final Wars, if it's not number 1, it should be disqualified because he's obsessed with that film.
Daisy, quiet. No.
And then finally, we've got Mr. Nathan Marchand in the chat saying hello. Hi, Nathan.
Nathan, your stream finally finished. Because they were streaming the same time I did. Or we did. Yeah.
And Nathan also says Ikiru will break your heart.
It will. It will. That and Grave of the Fireflies. If you want to cry, watch those 2 movies. They are some very sad movies.
I haven't seen that one. I've heard of it.
Grave of the Fireflies?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, see, that's an anime one. So that's one that if you get into anime. No, okay, so two straight talk. I'm gonna wait for my thing to stop. Blah blah blah. Here for a second. Okay, catch up. Ooh. Okay. Well, anyway, straight talk. There is an anime movie, and it's a anthology. Daisy, no. Hold on 1 second. Let me go. Get down.
Everything's delayed, so I'm so interested on what's actually happening.
Well, she's off screen. But she's wanting to jump up on the shelf, and I'm trying to, because all my books and stuff are on the shelf, and she'll knock them over. So, why is my thing still like?
I don't know. I'm very,
because I've done exit out of the stuff that was causing the lag, so it should be caught up now.
Oh, there we go.
There we go. Yay! There is an anime movie that's an anthology that I think you will like, and I mean legitimately, I think you will like. not like, hey, I think you'll like this, and then it's like, no, I legitimately, it is right up your alley. It is a movie called Memories, and it's an anthology, but it's all by one creator, and he makes a lot of very, very interesting artistic choices in the process, in the making of that movie. Like one of the, I don't know the full story. I have to look it back up because I read it, but in an article, but now I don't remember it. The one of the anthology ones, he actually specifically took the cells, the animation cells, and lit them in a different way so that they would look differently on screen when you're watching it, so that it looked like more like old-timey and kind of faded, and the colors are desaturated and stuff, because that was the point of the story. Is it's a dystopian kind of story. So it's just there. So there's a lot of creative, interesting filmmaking techniques being used in there, not just animation techniques, but like actual filming techniques of using lighting and color and things like that. And so I think that if you watched it, you'd appreciate that side of it, because it kind of has that, the reason why you like Tetsuo the Iron Man, it's not because of how wild and crazy it is, it's because of the artistic choices that he made in that was made in that film. Nathan, it wasn't one director, but it was one creator. It is one person who made that. If you look it up, it is one creator who did that, Memories, the stories and everything, and like, so they like, it is like the mind of one person through it.
It's one person's vision, but it's multiple people's direction.
Yeah. But there's a lot of creative decisions in it. I think it just, to me, it read Elijah all over it. And especially if you do research and like learn about what he did, like what they did behind the scenes to do some of these the filming techniques that they used and stuff. I think you'd really, really appreciate it. Okay. And it's on Tubi.
I might have to check it out eventually. I might have to.
Yeah. It's good.
Speaking, so I've been looking at this movie list here of all the top 100 Japanese films. I'm not seeing Akira, but one that I'm kind of surprised by and kind of excited about is, so Godzilla hit top 25, it was 24. But then if I scroll down a little bit farther, in the top 100, sitting at 68 is Always Sunset on 3rd Street.
Oh, yeah.
Which was directed by Takashi Yamazaki, who is doing the upcoming
new Godzilla movie. Yep.
So I know you've talked about it on Kaiju Weekly, but is there anything you'd like to add about how you feel about Godzilla Zero? I mean, today we hit Godzilla versus Megalon, I believe, in the countdown.
Yeah, on the countdown. Yeah, because we haven't had much come out about it, I'm still just kind of like, I don't know what to feel about the movie. Like, I know I'm excited because of the director, and I know I'm excited because of it being this totally new, unique take on it. Like, if the rumors are true, because like we said, like, they've never been officially confirmed, but if the rumors are true, this kind of unique setting and take on Godzilla, I'm excited for that. But I also just don't know what else to feel about it, because we don't have anything to go on. Like, I mean, other than that, it's like, yeah, I'm excited. New Godzilla is always fun. I'm always excited for new Godzilla. But yeah, until I actually see something, even if it's just a clip, or even if it's just the suit, even, like, then I'll start getting even more excited.
Right. Okay. Fair enough. So, okay.
And to be fair, and I'm the same way with Godzilla X Kong too. Like, I'm excited for more MonsterVerse, because I do like the MonsterVerse. And I'm excited to see what happens. I'm kind of excited to see if the rumors are true. that leak, is true because it's kind of interesting. But until I see more, I'm just kind of like, yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to it, but that's as much as I can say because I don't know how else to feel until I see more.
Right. I mean, that's fair. That's a fair assessment. So I'm trying to think here. That was a pretty good tangent on Japanese cinema and tokusatsu and whatnot.
Yeah, I'm surprised. Well, and it might have been, but you didn't mention it. But I'm surprised that Ghost in the Shell, if it's not on there, because Akira and Ghost in the Shell are usually like one of those are on lists of like the best films, especially from Japan, because those two had such a huge impact on American pop culture, not just Japanese pop culture.
Right. Speaking of American pop culture and Ghost in the Shell, did you ever watch the Scarlett Johansson?
No, I never did. I wanted to. I did want to. I just never got around to actually watching it, and it's one of those ones that's just on my list now, and just it keeps getting pushed further and further down as other movies that I want to see more.
Right.
But I was a fan of Ghost in the Shell back in the day when I was a teenager. I enjoyed the original movie. I enjoyed the series. They had 2 series that they had for a while. They had Standalone Complex, and Nathan might know the other one. I can't remember what the other one was now, but they had, that was the second season was the one I can't remember. And then they've done a lot of other movies, these like CG animated ones. They've kind of gone that route, and those I'm kind of not too crazy about. But yeah, I just never got around to watching the Scarlett Johansson one.
Okay. I was looking here because you brought up Ghost in the Shell. So on Japan, is this Japan Web? I believe it's called. They have a top 20 Japanese movies. Real quick, Nathan says there's a new Ghost in the Shell series on Netflix as well.
Yeah, isn't it? That's the CG one. That's one of the CG because they've kind of all gone towards that direction of doing that CG animated. It's like cell shaded, but it's still computer generated version of it. And so, I'm not a fan of that style of animation, so that's why I haven't gotten into those.
Gotcha. But on this 20 top Japanese movies, you have number 20, which is Our Little Sisters, which I've never heard of. Number 19, Merry Christmas, Mr. Lawrence, which I've heard of that one. I've never watched it.
Okay.
A Silent Voice, the movie, as 18. It's an animated movie.
I am very surprised that is on that list. I mean, it's good. Absolutely fantastic. But I'm surprised it's on a list like that.
Number 17 is Gate of Hell, which I've heard of, and I do want. That's another one that I want to watch. It won Best Foreign Film at the 27th Academy Awards, which is I'm always interested by stuff like that. You have at number 16 Kingdom of Dreams and Madness.
I have heard of that one.
Number 15 is Rurouni Kenshin, which I've never heard of.
That's Rurouni Kenshin. That's the anime. It must be the movie based on the anime.
Yes, they say it's the live action film.
Okay, I've heard the live action one is really good.
I've never even heard of it. So, It looks it's
yeah. I know Nathan's a big fan of Rurouni Kenshin. That's an anime that was out in the 90s. So yeah, it would have hit just in time for me and Nathan, watching anime. He's from my generation of anime fans.
Number 14 is Tempopo, which I've heard of. It's by Criterion.
Yes.
I want to watch that.
That's a Ghibli film. That one is all about tanukis.
Really?
So if you know about Tanukis, me and you have talked about the yokai Tanuki, which is, well, Tanuki is a real animal. It's the raccoon dog, but the spiritual side of it, the like folklore side of Tanukis, they kind of go into that in Tampopo.
Tempopo, not Tempoko.
Tempopo. Let me make sure that's the right one, because I've been thinking of.
So this says Tempopo is a classic comedy movie released in 1985. It's a ramen western, which put
Okay, no, yeah, that's not the one.
It actually has Ken Watanabe in it.
Oh, okay, okay.
So this is probably one of his earlier appearances. That sounds really interesting, just to watch and see an early appearance of Ken Watanabe.
Poco is the one I was thinking of,
and I've heard of that one. That's the Ghibli film.
Yeah, that's the Ghibli one. That one's really good. That's the one I'm thinking of. Poco. You can see my confusion.
Mm-hmm. Real quick, 1 second.
Nathan, I haven't watched the Rurouni Kenshin live action movies. I need to watch them because I did like the series. And I've heard that the live action ones are really good. I think they were on Hulu for a while. And I don't know if they're still on there, but they were definitely on Hulu for a while. I wanted to check them out. But the Solid State Society is the season, is what I was thinking of. But that's the movie that is the second, or that's the sequel to Ghost in the Shell. The second gig one is the one that I watched them all. I watched all of those Ghost in the Shells. Daisy, you want to come be the host of this show? No, you sleeping? Okay, she finally settled down. Movies 4 and 5 are exclusive to Netflix, sadly. I mean, I have Netflix, so I can watch them on Netflix. But no, I do remember at least the first one. Oh no, the first two I think was on Hulu at one time.
I'm back.
Yay!
I saw that Nathan said that he was going to hijack the show, so I decided that I had to come back really quickly. Sorry about that. Let's see. Nathan also says he has the Kenshin films 1 through 3 on Blu-ray. I might have to check them out.
Yeah, they're samurai. So the anime is a samurai series. So if you like samurai stuff, it's really good. But the thing is that the samurai, the main character, he his katana doesn't have the blade on the outside, or the sharp point on the outside. It's on the inside, and he purposely did that because he tries to not kill. He doesn't want to kill because he was involved in fights and battles and wars that involved, that had a lot of killing, and so he takes up this vow of no more killing and stuff. And so that's kind of it. And it has like the anime tropes of the time. So there is a little bit of, it's a romance, ultimately. So it's good though.
Interesting. See, I've never heard of this series, so I'm learning something new during this stream.
Have you ever heard of Tenchi, the Tenchi animes? Tenchi Muyo, Tenchi Galaxy, it's Tenchi Muyo, Tenchi in Tokyo. I think Tenchi Galaxy or Galaxy SP or something like that is the other one. There's a few others that I haven't even watched, but I watched those as a kid. And those are, I mean, to be fair, it is a I don't know how much you know about anime tropes and anime genres. It's a harem, what's called a harem anime, where it's one guy and a bunch of girls who all are vying for his attention and his affections. and it's that, and so that's the genre that. So there's a lot of that in it, but it's also a lot of fun because it gets really crazy with the sci-fi wackiness of going into space and everything. So I enjoyed it. I watched it as a kid. I enjoyed it. Some of those female characters really shaped my tastes in women, I think, nowadays.
Wow. Speaking of Japanese science fiction, it's funny you brought that up because the 13th film on the list that I have here is Shin Godzilla. I'm going back to that Anno discussion and whatnot.
Yeah, I can see it. I mean, Shin Godzilla made waves in Japan, and it did fairly well here in the U.S. and even among the fans of Nathan, even fans of Godzilla. It made waves,
right?
But definitely in Japan, it made a huge impact on the film industry overall because of it, just how much money it made and everything. It was a huge deal. It was like, it's the way that like the Marvel movies made a huge impact, not on our culture, on our film going experience, because of how much money they've made and so studios have taken that notice of that. It kind of did the same thing in Japan. It's like, okay, well, what can we learn from Shin Godzilla and apply to our own movies and stuff like that?
Right. And I mean, we saw Toei and Shochiku do that with their 2021 kaiju movie, What to Do with the Dead Kaiju.
Yeah. Which I still have not seen. I
haven't seen it either.
Yeah. I do want to see it.
I'm hoping that somebody eventually picks it up for distribution. But considering the movie bombed in Japan, I'm a little worried it might not. But so did Great Yokai War 2 Guardians.
True.
That ended up getting a release. A release.
And I would not be surprised if the same people released What to Do with the Dead Kaiju.
Very well could. So Nathan wants to know, who do you think would? And I agree with Travis. I feel like that would be something. What to Do with the Dead Kaiju is definitely a movie I think SRS could definitely try to pick up. I feel like if anybody would, it would be them, because I don't. If Funimation wanted it, they would have already picked it up.
Yeah.
If like Discotek wanted it, I feel like they would have licensed it. But I don't think Discotek's wanting to do kaiju. I feel like Discotek primarily specializes in your like mecha henshin, those kind of seijin, those more traditional Japanese stories, or like your drama pieces or whatever. So I definitely think that would be something that would be picked up by SRS.
Yeah. Along the same lines, talking about kaiju and stuff, I still have not seen The Lake.
I just got that Blu-ray.
I have it. I want to watch it. I just haven't gotten around to actually watching it yet.
Likewise, I got The Lake. When we're talking about non-Japanese giant monster movies that are still Asian, I have The Lake I need to watch. I have the other Thai movie that came out, The Beast Below. I have the Taiwanese Korean co-production Crocodile that just got released.
Oh yeah.
And then I have the SRS Space Monstering Magui Blu-ray that I still need to watch. And I need to watch that stuff. I'm actually thinking about when I get home and I'm not working on my short film, I'm gonna watch those movies, because I'd like to watch some toku, but also all I watch anymore is Japanese tokusatsu. I haven't really watched an American or other film in a long time. So
I sat down and watched John Carpenter's The Thing yesterday, and it has been probably over a decade since I've seen that movie.
Oh wow.
And I was like, I mean, I've seen it. I've definitely seen it, but it's just, But it was nice, you know. And I love podcasting. Obviously, I love doing the magazine. I love doing Kaiju Weekly and stuff. But back in the day, when Kaiju Weekly, my podcast, was reviewing movies, and we were reviewing movies every week, watching movies became kind of like work and kind of a chore.
Right.
And so that's one of the reasons why I've kind of been putting off watching things like The Thing and stuff, because it's like, well, you know, I'm still getting over that feeling of this being a chore, this being work, even for movies I enjoy. And so I finally am getting to that point. And so I sat down and I decided to watch The Thing. And man, yeah, I mean, like, I do love that movie. Like, that is such a good movie.
Right.
I'm not blowing anybody's mind here, but that is such a good movie. And for not watching it in over a decade, seeing it for the first time in a long time, man, that movie is so good.
Yeah, see, I was actually telling somebody earlier today that, like, I haven't been able to, recently I did, but it's hard for me to have time to, like, watch a movie and not have to, like, have, I think I threw my notebook earlier because I got upset, so I don't have it next to me. But, like, I'm used to having my notebook and I'm writing notes.
Yeah.
And then I dive into the production of the film, and then I know everything, like, that there really needs to be about it.
Just watching a movie for the enjoyment of watching it. Like, being able to do that.
And Nathan brought up... Oh, go ahead.
No, go... Yeah.
I was going to say, Nathan brought up how The Thing flopped at the box office, which...
I can see. It is... Like, that is it's a very hard movie to market, because how do you market that movie to people? It was R-rated. R rating always gets slashed with the budget on marketing and stuff. And yeah, you're appealing to a very specific group of people that may not be the ones that are going to bring the big bucks. You know, you're talking about horror films, sci-fi fans, you know. Yes, these movies were on the rise because you had Alien and Terminator and things like that. But I think actually Terminator had not even come out yet, but you had Alien. So these movies were on the rise, but it still was just like, you're still appealing to a very niche market with this movie. It definitely is not for a wider audience. It doesn't have a wide appeal. And to be fair, I don't think John Carpenter cares.
No.
like any of his movies, like, he doesn't care. He makes the movies he wants to make, and if you don't like it, then screw you.
Right. No,
although he uses a stronger word than screw, but
no, because if you think about it, when The Thing came out, prior to that, John Carpenter's titles were Assault on Precinct 13.
Mm-hmm.
Then it would have been Dark Star, and then it would have been Halloween.
Yeah, Halloween.
Then the
Halloween
Fog.
came out.
78 was Halloween. The Fog was 79/80. 81 was Escape from New York, and then 82 was The Thing. And The Thing is very different on a technical level than all of his past films. Like, it was new waters for him, especially.
Mm-hmm.
Because prior to that, I think Assault on Precinct 13 and Escape from New York were very much kind of similar. And then you have Dark Star, which was a comedy. And then you had Halloween and the Fog, which were his low-budget, suspenseful horror movies.
Mm-hmm.
And the Fog, actually... So Assault on Precinct 13 and Dark Star were both like independent, low-budget, small things that, it didn't matter if they made money or not. They were just making them to make them. Right. Halloween did exceptionally well. The Fog bombed and was met with poor reviews. And I think Escape from New York did okay.
Yeah, so Escape from New York was a not like the biggest hit ever. It definitely built up its fan base, but it was a moderate successful.
And then the thing bombed, and like it just, like, Carpenter did not have a track record for very successful movies,
right?
Aside from Halloween, which makes sense that would be his most well known. But like you said, John Carpenter doesn't care.
Yeah.
He just he makes movies for what he wants to do.
Mhm.
He's a very old style Hollywood guy. So I love his comments on the franchise that Halloween has become, because
Oh,
he's
yeah.
like, I love it. Every movie I hold out my hand and a check appears.
Yep.
Like I love how he's just very blunt and brutal and honest.
It's like, you know, don't you think that they're ruining the artistic value of your stuff? And he's like, no. He's like, I get paid. They make a movie. I don't care what they do with it.
It's perfect. And you know, I've always appreciated John Carpenter for that. Is he's very upfront and brutally honest.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I used to love, so back in the day, since we're just rambling now, but back in the day, they on the Bravo channel on TV, they used to air the 100 scariest movies of all time.
Okay.
And they would just, and it was every year around Halloween. It was the same list. It never changed because it was just the same one. But I watched it every year because I don't always watch, like, I don't watch stuff to do with ghosts. I don't watch things to do with demons and things like that. But this, you know, I did watch that, the 100 scariest movies of all time, because you got little snippets of it, but you also get interviews with not just actors who played in it, fans of it, and the directors. And so every time John Carpenter would come on talking about his, you know, the few movies that were in that list, which I think was just Halloween and The Thing. I don't even think The Fog was, maybe The Fog was on there. But yeah, he's just a funny guy, and how much he just has, you know, he's like you were saying, like they give me money, they can go and do what they want. And it's like, yeah, and I'll tell you about all the things I did in this movie, but half the times, like, well, what made you make this decision? He's like, because we didn't have the money to do it. That's
Right.
why. That's why that's why we did it that way. There's no special kind of, you know, this weird thought process that went into it. It's just like, we didn't have money to shoot it this way, so I shot it this way.
Right. And I feel like he's even like said, like, because I could. That's why I did it, because I could.
Yeah. They mention, I remember they mentioned how in Halloween you can see cigarette smoke coming up from behind the camera because he was smoking while filming, and he's just like, it's just like, it just adds to the atmosphere, whatever.
See, I've watched from John Carpenter, I've watched Dark Star, Halloween, The Fog, The Thing, Escape from New York, Escape from LA, and I want to say that's all I've watched from him. And I'm pretty sure I still have about half of his filmography to watch.
Yeah,
but
there's a lot of his I haven't seen.
I'm sold on The Fog being his best work. I love that movie. But one thing I love more than John Carpenter's movies is John Carpenter's soundtracks. Because Carpenter is one of the rare examples of a filmmaker who also composes his own movies.
Yep.
And I love his use of synth, his synthesizers and whatnot. I mean, obviously the Halloween theme is like iconic.
Yeah, that it's just like dong, dong, as he's like, it's just and it was like four or five notes that he just, you know, just played over and over and over again, and then just put the lower notes over top of them, and it was just, but it was enough to build that tension. It was almost like Jaws, you know, and just, you know, the little notes there, the music builds that tension.
Right. And my favorite song he's ever done was The Fog is Coming, I think is the title. And it's this 7-minute long track. And it's building up this because it's the fog rolling in and fog. But he ends up with this like ding, ding, like it's a synth, it's a dark synth, and it just gets like the beats get even harder. And it becomes even more kind of terrifying.
Yeah.
And this is a topic I would like to jump on a little bit. Nathan brought up how John Carpenter should direct a Godzilla film.
The thing is, I don't think anybody can go to John Carpenter and say, can you direct this film, or can you do this? He does what he wants to do, and if he's not interested in doing a film, he's not going to do it. Like he's just like, he's not one that gets told by the studio, can you do this for us, or can you do that for us? No. and
Right.
to be fair, the man at this age, like the age that he's at now, like he's not going to be told what to do. He's like, forget you. I'm what, 80 something years old now. He's like, I'm not going to be told what to do.
Right. And I'm going to be honest, I disagree. I disagree with the idea of John Carpenter directing a Godzilla movie. I want the scrapped Matango movie that he was supposed to do.
Now that would be something.
I would give up John Carpenter directing a Godzilla movie for a Matango American remake, practical effects, directed by John Carpenter.
Mm-hmm.
I would do that. And maybe, like, if we're talking modern day, let's throw Blumhouse in as the production studio.
Yeah. Just really, I mean, and to be fair, like, absolutely John Carpenter, but really, I would love to see a modern take on Matango, period. Mm-hmm. Just really a modern take on Matango in general would be a lot of fun, but definitely somebody like Carpenter, or anybody who's really good at that horror.
Right. And Nathan's a little surprised that he wanted to do Matango. So let me pull it up here to make sure I'm remembering correctly. But I'm pretty sure there was a scrapped American remake of Matango. The reason was the American studio thought that it wouldn't work. Let me see here. Let's see. This says, who is this? Soderbergh, Steven Soderbergh, wanted to direct a remake, but the studio couldn't figure out a deal with Toho, so it didn't happen. See, I remember somewhere, where I feel like it was John Carpenter said that he wanted to do it. Oh, it wasn't that he was offered it. It wasn't that he wanted to do it. It was that he was offered it. So this is what John Carpenter said. I met the head of Toho. He came to visit me. He wanted me to do a remake of Matango, but I wasn't ready to do it. So he was offered the chance to remake Matango, and he denied it. So I would have loved to, because I feel like he could have done that. I feel like Matango kind of shares a similar idea to The Thing, except it's a little more obvious. And I think with like COVID-19, with that like being a modern subject, I feel like that would have been like perfect. I feel like that especially now would be peak American horror cinema.
Oh yeah. Yeah, but that goes back to what I was saying. Like, nobody's going to tell John Carpenter what to do. He
right.
he does what he wants. He doesn't care.
Absolutely. And Nathan says we were denied gold. I agree. I feel like that would have been a golden opportunity.
We talk about the multiverse has been on a lot of people's minds because of the movies and stuff. And if we see the downside and the dark side of the multiverse and what can happen if people breach into the multiverse and stuff. So obviously traveling to another dimension. But if I could just open a window into another universe, I would just use it to watch all these movies that were meant to be made but never got made. Like all of them. Just like even James Cameron's Spider-Man. Like just like all these movies that were meant to be made never got made. Just sit and watch them.
I would love to see Nobuyuki Obayashi's Space Godzilla.
Oh yeah,
just because House is crazy. That's a crazy psycho movie, and I'd love to see what he would have done to Godzilla.
Yeah.
I would have been interested in Tim Burton's Godzilla.
Hmm.
I would have been curious to see what Tim Burton would do with that.
Yeah.
God, what else? I'd like to see the original version of Godzilla versus Kong. I hate the movie,
Yeah.
but I'd love to see what it was supposed to be before
What it was
Warner
supposed
went
to be.
in and was like,
Yeah.
let's alter this.
The original, like even like we talked about Tim Burton's one, but like the other version of Godzilla 98 that was supposed to be made with the Griffin, like just seeing that. Oh,
The
man.
sequels to Godzilla 98.
Yeah.
All three of them.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So things like that, just that's all I would do.
Godzilla versus the Asuka Fortress, the only Heisei Godzilla film written by Shinichi Sekizawa. I'd love to see that. Oh, I'd love to see Ishiro Honda's Daimajin.
Oh man,
I would have loved, or Shinya Tsukamoto, director of Tetsuo the Iron Man, was supposed to do a giant monster movie in 1990.
Oh,
I would
wow.
have loved to have seen that. I would love to see more Shinya Tsukamoto.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. I mean, just any of the unmade Gamera movies that never got around to, Gamera 4, like,
Right.
Just any of those things. Like, it just, yeah, that's all I would do. Just watch these unmade movies.
Yeah, and then I'd have the knowledge of like how awful or amazing they would have been. Maybe we would have had a Marvel Cinematic Universe with like the alternative version of Iron Man, where at the end Nick Fury's like radioactive spiders and gamma radiation changed people, like that, or like mutants, like the idea of like all these other characters established and like bringing over all the different companies for like a major Marvel movie or something.
The universe, like explored or just peek into the universe where Warner Brothers bought out Marvel back in the day, and so Marvel and DC became one company, like, because that was an option back in the day, because Marvel has been bankrupt quite a few times, has been optioned out to companies. So now it's the other way around. Now Marvel and Disney has the opportunity to possibly buy out Warner Brothers. So,
speaking of that, that's actually an interesting topic. Did you read the articles where Warner's looking to sell like 10% of their catalog?
Yeah, I did. I did see that. It was, I mean, on one hand, it's interesting because now these movies are getting sent out and these things are getting sent out to other people, but it all speaks to just the mismanagement that's happening over at Warner Brothers. I really get frustrated with it sometimes, just reading about it, because it's just like, it's so awful what's happening.
No, absolutely. And recently, actually, the David what's his name?
Zaslav?
Zaslav actually just got invited to be a member of the Academy, which is really interesting. And like the whole Warner thing is I mean, so I was reading today, somebody brought up how a lot of it started when AT&T purchased the company back in 2017. That was when development started on the problems, because they greenlit too much and they didn't have a good like future plan, which is kind of disappointing. And like seeing like the Flash, like the last hurrah of the DCEU, and it had like a 72% drop its second weekend.
Yeah.
Which means it's going to lose like $300 million.
One of the things that I found so interesting about that is because it was tracking for so much more. And it just shows that those tracking numbers, you can never go by them. Right. You can never go by them because they just don't know. They just absolutely don't know. And it's the fact that it bombed so hard, and because like the movie, everything I've read about the Flash is like, oh, it made this much money versus like what, 200 million or 170 something $1 million budget, and I'm like, no, that movie definitely crossed like 200 million into 300 million dollar budget
Right.
with the marketing and everything. Like you gotta believe that movie's probably cost them close to 500 million, if not over
Right.
500 million, when all things are said and done. And yeah,
like The Flash has been in production for over 10 years.
Oh yeah,
Like, because
there's been 9 seasons of the Flash TV show that have come and gone since the Flash movie was announced.
So like you can't tell me that between the different writers and directors and all the people they've been paying, like that movie is probably, I think they said it had to cross like $700 million to break even between pre-production, production, post, marketing, and release. And apparently there's like a 4-hour director's cut with more cameos and all that. And like there's
why
so
not?
much.
It worked with Justice League, so why not? It worked with Batman versus Superman. Why not? Sure.
Apparently there's like a version where Cesar Romero's Joker appears.
I believe it.
But it, and like all that has, like, Warner has lost so much money. According to the Variety news that broke early this week or last week, so Warner Brothers is looking to sell off about half of its assets for about 500 million, which is surprising that half of Warner Brothers assets is only worth 500 million. When was it Marvel was worth, or Lucasfilm was worth $4 billion? Was it?
Lucasfilm was. Yep.
And that was the rights for Indiana Jones, Star Wars, and then they're just production company, right?
It was their production house, the video game LucasArts, and all their films, which included also why am I blanking on it? What's the
American Graffiti?
No, American Graffiti I don't think was included in that, because I think that one was made before Lucasfilm was a thing. He made that before Lucasfilm was made. But no, the one that just got taken off of Disney Plus, Willow.
Okay.
That's Lucasfilm. That was Lucasfilm. So yeah, there was a lot included in that. That's not just like, we look at the movies, but like LucasArts, the animation, the production house, there was a lot
Skywalker sound and whatnot. ILM's also isn't
ILM. I mean, ILM is like huge. So
right, that's probably worth $1 billion by itself.
Right? So yeah, so there was a lot to that, but still, I totally do see where you're coming from though. Like, half of their assets of Warner Brothers is only $500 million. It must be the like lower half.
Well, what's weird is apparently like, so according to the Variety report, Purple Rain is said to be up for sale. Sweeney Todd, Rent, several Batman films, and then a handful of other things.
It was soundtracks. The soundtracks to the Batman films were what was coming up. Which makes sense.
So I heard
Purple Rain, because Prince did the soundtrack for.
Gotcha. And apparently Sony's in the lead to purchase them, which I'm not a huge fan of, because I feel like I've made it very clear that I hate Sony, and I would love for Sony to go bankrupt.
Yeah.
I want those Spider-Man rights back, man. I want the Spider-Man rights back.
I mean, I would too. I do too. I'm tired. I don't have any kind of, like, these are all big soulless companies. Like, so I don't really care what happens to any of them, really.
I want the awful Spider-Man villain movies that come out every other year to stop. I want to see if Toho can get their handful.
Did you see my tweet that I put when they announced that the Bad Bunny El Muerto movie was taken off their list? I said they won't get morbed again.
No, the fact that they even were doing that was
I
like,
know, but it was just like they've learned their lesson from Morbius. They won't get morbed again.
see, so they have. I'm pretty sure Morbius 2 is canceled.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
They have Kraven the Hunter, and they have like what 6 other Spider-Man spin-off movies in development. They've got Silk, they've got Madam Web.
Those have been in development for almost as long as like the Flash movie. So who knows when they'll happen. The next big one that we know for sure is actually coming. What we have Kraven the Hunter and we have Spider-Verse.
Is it Madam Web that's filming, or is it Silk that's filming?
Madam Web is filming.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean anything. Look what happened to Batgirl.
Right. Well, that's another, like, I apparently that movie's awful, but like, I'd love to see that. Let's jump into a universe where we have Michael Keaton.
It can't be any worse than The Flash.
It can't be. And so wasn't it that following Batgirl and Flash, there was going to be a Batman Beyond movie with Michael Keaton's Batman, and I'm like, where is this?
There's no way they're never going to get Michael Keaton back now. Not after this.
It's the fact that Michael Keaton was back. Like,
you had such a great opportunity getting Michael Keaton back, and you blew it.
Yeah, like Michael. Okay, we might argue, but Michael Keaton is the best live action Batman, period.
I've always thought that he was a good Bruce Wayne, whereas his Batman was okay, but I always thought he was a better, just as Bruce Wayne. But yeah, because to me he was the first, like, to me he was the only one that, well, I won't say the only one, but he was the first one I think that humanized Bruce Wayne more, because with Adam West Batman, Bruce Wayne was kind of like a throwaway. It was just it was just a means to an end to get to the suit and the action, and the silliness. But and in the comics, by the time you get to the 80s when that movie is being made, Batman had become Wolverine. Like he had gotten very dark, very brutal, very different. And so Bruce Wayne was just a nothing. Like, and there's always the argument of which one's the mask, Batman or Bruce Wayne. Bruce Wayne, there's the the playboy side of him is a mask that he puts on. But I think that Michael Keaton did a good job, like, balancing this, like, he's a weirdo who's alone and spent his whole life alone, but at the same time, he still can be charming, and you get the charmingness of it, because that's one thing I don't get a lot in like with, well, definitely not with Robert Pattinson's Batman, because he's not meant to be, but and also with Christian Bale's Batman. Bruce Wayne's not charming. Like, to me, he's not charming. Whereas with Michael Keaton, he's at least charming, and I like that.
Right.
So, yeah. And
then, like, as you get on, like, George Clooney and Val Kilmer, I feel like Val Kilmer is quite literally the most unmemorable Batman, period.
And not to his fault, because I mean, Val Kilmer is a great actor, but
true. It's just the movie, like Batman Forever, I think, is out of that quadrilogy. That is the one that's forgotten the most, because one, it wasn't Tim Burton and Michael Keaton and Jack Nicholson, and two, it wasn't Arnold Schwarzenegger making awful puns every 5 minutes. Yeah,
Batman and Robin, for all of all the hate that it gets being in considered the worst one, to me, I think it's not the worst one, because it's the most memorable.
Right. It's
people remember that movie for ill or for good.
It's the one Batman movie where Batman gets second billing.
Right.
That's the weirdest part for me, is the fact that is the one Batman movie where your Batman gets second billing to whoever, because I'm pretty sure doesn't Ben Affleck get top billing in all the Snyder films too?
I think so. Yeah.
Because I think it's Ben Affleck, then Henry Cavill, and then Gal Gadot, and then whoever else.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah. Ben Affleck gets the top billing. Everybody else, yeah. But no one takes that top billing away from Schwarzenegger.
I just love the fact that like Arnold can say I got top billing over Batman.
Yep.
That was a little Russian, but
Yeah, it was a little more Russian, but no, I sent Nathan a clip that was the ABCs according to Arnold Schwarzenegger, and it was like him, A is for ugh, and B is for I'll be back, and stuff like that. It was just like it was great.
I love that.
Because Nathan loves doing Arnold impressions.
Oh, we know.
And I hate to do this to you, but we're gonna need to wrap up here soon because my computer is about to go dead.
Oh boy. Well, I wanted to let me see if I can pull it up here.
Okay.
There was something that I wanted to do because you and I both worked on something that's really cool. And unless something awful goes on tonight,
No, get there.
and I'm not able to get this out properly, I have something cool to reveal to the world that you worked on today. So let me pull it up here if I can locate it. I have too many photos and too much stuff on my. Is this it? Yes, it is. So, Travis, you're also an artist, are you not?
In the loosest sense of the word.
Let me see how can I present. I can do a file. So, or I could just send this to myself, I think. Let me do it this way. I'm gonna message you so I can just download it onto my computer.
Okay.
See, the lovely thing about Kaiju Conversation Live is we don't do things prepared. We don't prepare for things. So everything's raw. Everything's like right now and in the know and happening. So let me download this. And then I'm going to open it. If it'll pop up. Okay, so as of tomorrow, I will be submitting my let's see here. Is it this one? I think it is this one. I will be submitting my short film for G-Fest.
Mm-hmm.
And so we did something a while back where we were working on a project together. And now that I know that my film will be done for G-Fest and should be submitted, if people reply to my emails, we can officially reveal. It's not working. Hold on, don't start drum rolling yet. It's not working. Hang on, I'll do it this way. We'll do it the other way that
you want me to do it?
I mean, if you can.
I can.
We'll do it this way. We'll do it live. So, Travis, you got to work on a very special promotional image for this, where you got to show off your graphic design skills as the image, and then I threw on all the text that I had to throw on. And for my short film titled SOS Seek Shelter, you got to do the poster, which we can see here, and my name at the top.
Yeah. That's because I pulled it up using your that you had on your on Messenger. So
fair enough. But yeah, so this is the poster.
Ignore the Spider-Man booty.
This is the poster for the upcoming short film, SOS Seek Shelter. I love this poster. You did an amazing job with it, Travis. I'm forever grateful for you doing this.
I mean, I try.
So I wanted to highlight this before we left, at least. And before we go, if you want to, because I'll start wrapping it up here. We're
Okay.
hitting about 2.5 hours roughly.
Yep.
I want you to take the floor and use this time for people to know about what you do and anything you want to promote and bring up.
Well, mainly it's Kaiju Ramen Media. Go check out kaijuramenmedia.com for everything that is Kaiju Ramen related. We do podcasts. We have the Henshin Men. We have the Power Trip. We have Kaiju Weekly, which is our weekly live stream that we do where we talk about the news in the wide world of giant monsters. Check out the magazine. We have digital copies available for all issues. We have physical copies available for some. They're limited run. You can follow me at Captain Travis 55 on Twitter for my personal Twitter, or you can follow Kaiju Ramen at Kaiju_Ramen on Twitter. And yeah, everything that I do is basically, I mean, I don't do much outside of Kaiju Ramen nowadays because everything is Kaiju Ramen related. I don't do much outside of that anymore.
Alrighty. So please definitely check all of that out. I work for Kaiju Ramen. At least I think. I hope I do.
Sometimes.
It was sometimes. It's a lot of
see
fun.
how much longer.
It's a great organization full of amazing work. So I can't wait to see what else we do. I know we're working on issue 10 right now.
Mm-hmm.
So when that comes out, I can't wait for everybody to see it.
Yep.
So definitely, please go support Travis and Kaiju Ramen. As for me, you can find me on Twitter at ET13 Productions, on Instagram at ET13 Productions, or on YouTube at ET13 Productions. That's where SOS Seek Shelter will be arriving in August following the G-Fest premiere. Now, as for the podcasts, don't forget to rate us on iTunes. That boosts our ratings and helps us get recommended to more people just like you. If you don't have an Apple device, which I don't blame you, I don't. That's actually a lie. We're using a MacBook Pro for all of this right now, so I'm nothing but a liar, I guess. You can also rate us on Spotify. We recently got some reviews on Spotify, so we're sitting at a 5-star, much appreciated. But on iTunes, we are sitting at like a 3.1. We were review bombed, and so I'd appreciate if some people could leave us some 5 stars, maybe leave a review on how awful Rex's opinions are, but how amazing Elijah's are, whatever floats your boat. If you want to stay up to date with all things Kaiju Conversation related, follow us on Twitter at KAIJU_CONVERS. If you don't have Twitter, you can follow us on Instagram or like us on Facebook. If you're like me before podcasting and you don't have any social media, lucky you. You can email us at kaijuconversation@gmail.com, all lowercase, all one word, you know the drill. And as always, we'll read your reviews on air for everyone to hear. We also have a Teespring store. Eventually, we'll have original artwork on there, but until then, you can sport our awesome logo on a t-shirt or maybe even a coffee mug. If you'd like to chat with us, me more than Travis, but Travis, you are on our Discord server full of others that have similar interests, and it's
but Discord scares me sometimes. So
this is true. There's some scary stuff on Discord. I can confirm. But for all who are watching this stream, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you can be notified anytime we upload a video. We sometimes post exclusive to the channel, like bloopers for episodes or minisodes talking about news or other subjects. We also have an interview with Mechagodzilla designer Jared Krzyzewski on this channel. Probably butchered his name, so I apologize for that. But it's really cool. A huge thanks to Rex for editing all of the episodes we upload and all the other content. He even edited the opening for this live stream. So huge thanks to him. His links can be found in the description below. Along with Rex, we'd like to give a huge thanks and shout out to Danny DeManna of the Godzilla Novelization Project for his amazing vocals on the theme song. You can support him by following him on Twitter at Danzilla93_GNP or visit his website, GodzillaNovelizationProject.com. And a huge thanks to Gratton Conwell from the podcast Giant Monster BS for composing the music for our theme song. You can support him by following the podcast on Twitter at Giant Monster BS or on any podcast platform under the name Giant Monster BS. And with that, we're going to wrap this stream up. So thank you guys so much for watching and listening, and thank you, Travis, for coming on. It was a great conversation. I love diving into all of our tokusatsu topics.
All the weird, fun things that I love talking about.
It was great. I'd love to have you on in the future again. So thank you, guys. Thank you. And as always, please remember, life's too short to not talk big. Bye, guys.
Bye.